Sometimes, as the Joker would say,
all it takes is a little push.
Hey guys, it's Phoebe with WatchMojo. Today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 movie villains created by other villains.
I will hunt my father like a dog and I will tear him apart slowly, piece by piece.
We're taking a look at villains who probably wouldn't have become evil at all if it wasn't for another manipulative baddie. We will not be considering animated characters, although they may have appeared in animated films or television shows. We will only be considering their live-action counterparts. Also, a minor spoiler alert is in order. Let's get to it. Number 10, the Horde, Split and Glass.
The beast is real. He's just emerged.
After nearly a decade of being a pop culture punchline, M. Night Shyamalan surprised audiences with Split, a smart, effective psychological thriller that focused more on character than setting up a twist ending. A uniformly excellent James McAvoy plays Kevin Wendell Crumb, as well as the different personalities in his mind.
May I talk to one of them, please?
That can't happen.
Though we don't meet them all, the ultimate threat is the Beast, an unstoppable killer impervious to even stab wounds. We eventually learn what caused his split, his father's death in a train accident.
That's the key to who you are. Mr. Glass killed Kevin's dad.
The real twist, Elijah Price caused the accident, bringing Unbreakable, Split, and Glass full circle.
I created you as I created David. It just took longer.
Number 9, the Jigsaw copycats, the Saw franchise.
I'm sick from the disease eating away at me inside.
Sounds like our friend Jigsaw.
I'm sick of people who don't appreciate their blessings.
Of the serial killers in recent horror films, few have motives that are somewhat understandable. John Kramer is the exception to the rule. A terminal cancer patient who only wants his victims to understand why living is worthwhile, his methods may be sadistic, but we're sure he could have written a pretty decent self-help book.
Most people are so ungrateful to be alive. But not you. Not anymore.
His followers, beginning with Amanda Young, were disciples of the same principle. Having survived his gruesome test, it's revealed in Saw 2 that Amanda has taken up her mentor's mantle. This all comes full circle in the final chapter, in which Cary Elwes's Dr. Lawrence Gordon has done the same.
Without you, my work over the last few years would not have been possible.
Hey, life lessons can be brutal. Fortunately, they rarely involve cutting off limbs. Number 8, Nebula, the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise.
Thanks, Dad. Sounds fair. This is one fight you won't win.
Up until recent years, the biggest criticism of the Marvel Cinematic Universe were the villains. Fans often viewed them as one-sided and generic. Enter Nebula, one of the earliest complex villains in the film universe.
Thanos pulled my eye from my head, and my brain from my skull, and my arm from my body. Because of you.
Created by Thanos and the adopted sister of Gamora, she switches allegiance throughout the series more than once, particularly in Guardians, where she first vows to fight alongside lead baddie Ronan the Accuser to obtain one of the Infinity Stones and best her sister in battle.
You are a disappointment, sister.
After severe physical mutilation inflicted by Thanos every time she fails, she vows to vanquish him, but still stays by Ronan's side. Eventually she redeems herself, but it's a long fall and physical deformity before she gets there.
Sister, help us fight Ronan! You know he's crazy!
I know you're both crazy.
Number 7, Saruman, the Lord of the Rings franchise.
My old friend, Saruman.
Often the best villains begin as allies. Next to Dracula, Saruman is probably Christopher Lee's most recognizable role. It stands to reason, given that his path to antagonist is one of the most familiar tales. Saruman was indirectly created by Sauron himself, his lust for power being the ultimate result.
There will be no dawn for men.
As stories of betrayal and power gone awry go, this is gangbusters. Saruman goes full evil, allying with Sauron and raising an army of Uruk-hai. Without Gandalf's help, he tries to thwart the Fellowship of the Ring with his army. You know the old saying though, the higher you climb, the further you have to fall. Number 6, Harley Quinn, Suicide Squad.
She thought she was curing him, but she was falling in love.
Harley Quinn is one of the most compelling villains in recent Batman lore. An original character from Batman the Animated Series, her popularity led to her pretty much being the lead in the ensemble's Suicide Squad.
So, I'm thinking if we move together, we can kill all these guys and go our separate ways. Yeah?
Born Harleen Quinzel, she was a psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum who had the misfortune of treating the Joker. Almost immediately, he set about manipulating her to fall in love with him, further driving her insane using electroshock therapy. Soon after, she's got a brand new name, a new look, and the same love of thrill killing as Mr. J.
So, unless we all want to die very unpleasant deaths, we're gonna have to work together.
Number 5, Jason Voorhees, the Friday the 13th franchise.
His name was Jason. I was working the day that it happened.
It's a little difficult to clarify just who was responsible for Jason Voorhees' derangement, the oversexed camp counselors who let him drown, or his homicidal mother.
Jason should have been watched every minute. He wasn't a very good swimmer.
By the end of part 2, though, we have a pretty good idea. Seeing Mrs. Voorhees brutally decapitated at the end of the first film set him on one long rampage that transcended even death, a trip to New York and outer space. Jason even hears the voice of his dead mother telling him to go wild throughout the franchise, so his motivation is fairly obvious.
Now come to mommy. Come on.
An overprotective mother is usually just a bit of a burden. Here, it's cause for filial homicide. Number 4, Selina Kyle, also known as Catwoman. Batman Returns.
You make it so easy, don't you? Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
Tim Burton's follow-up to his gothic adaptation of the DC comic book series may have had diminishing box office returns, but there's plenty to love about it. First and foremost is Michelle Pfeiffer's Selina Kyle, who, before becoming the master cat burglar, is the squirrely secretary to Christopher Walken's evil Max Schreck.
I mean, it's not like you can just kill me.
Actually, it's a lot like that.
Walken's villain was obvious, given he's named after the actor who played Nosferatu, but no one really expected him to throw Kyle out of a window after she uncovers his corruption. After being mysteriously revived by a group of cats, she seeks revenge. Her origin is vastly different from the comics, but Pfeiffer sells it with conviction.
I want in. The thought of busting Batman makes me feel all dirty.
Number 3, Eric Lensher, also known as Magneto, X-Men First Class.
Everything you did made me stronger. Made me the weapon I am today.
X-Men has always had some political commentary behind its plot lines, but never was it more obvious than Matthew Vaughn's prequel First Class, which mixes science fiction with a James Bond-esque Cold War thriller. Originally planned as an origin story for Magneto, instead it served as a soft reboot. Magneto is still the most compelling character though. Imprisoned in a concentration camp as a child, Nazi scientist Sebastian Shaw, played by Kevin Bacon, kills his mother in front of him, bringing out his mutant powers. He spends most of the film hunting Shaw, who plots the Cuban Missile Crisis, even as he's mentored to temper his anger by Professor X. Eventually, he gives in and murders Shaw, beginning his war on humankind.
Sorry, Charles.
Eric, please, be the better man. You haven't.
But I don't trust you.
Eric, there will be no turning back!
Number 2, Harvey Dent, The Dark Knight.
Oh, and you know the thing about chaos? It's fair.
Harvey Dent's transformation into Two-Face has been dealt with in different ways throughout comics, cartoons, and previous films, but the most epic retelling is easily his turn in The Dark Knight.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Rather than have acid thrown in his face during a trial, Gotham's White Knight is forced to listen to Love Rachel Dawes blow up before half of his face catches fire. It's Harvey's quest to punish those responsible for Rachel that turns out to be the key to the Joker's plan to send Gotham into ruin. Superhero films are often plagued with one villain too many, but Two-Face's inclusion feels all too logical in a movie that focuses so much on chaos.
You live. You die. Now we're talking.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Anakin Skywalker, also known as Darth Vader, the Star Wars franchise.
You ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Oh, to be alive in 1980, an age before internet spoilers, and to hear Darth Vader utter that famous twist on the big screen in The Empire Strikes Back.
No, I am your father.
Until that moment, audiences just assumed Vader was another big bad in a space western. For better or worse, we know every aspect of Anakin Skywalker's turn to the dark side. Beginning as a young boy on Tatooine with a knack for pod racing and a strong link to the Force.
Now this is pod racing.
Through a series of dirty politics by the future Emperor leading to an eventual Jedi genocide, Skywalker is sidetracked from the side of good and led down the rabbit hole of pure evil. Turns out Yoda was right to be skeptical. I mean, to be fair, is Yoda ever wrong? He seems like a pretty good judge of character. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments or tweet me at Phoebe_WM. And check out this video.